There's a new beta patch that just dropped, version 0.107.0. Now, I looked it over before I started recording. It is a much smaller patch, but there's a couple of important changes that we're going to go over, including a change to Eon Glass. So let's just go over everything. Another bi-weekly beta patch is here. This one's a bit smaller as it's intended to lay the groundwork for moving the beta branch to the main branch. Okay, so the beta branch changes are coming into the main branch. I don't know, maybe it would be next week or the week after, whenever the next patch, maybe. Who knows? Sounds like everybody's going to have these changes soon. Therefore, these updates are mostly focused on stability. A lot of bug fixes, UI, UX, quality of life additions, and performance improvements, along with just a few balance changes and art additions. Look at this dope animation that they added for Defect. And then we'll jump into the content and balance. The first enemy that they talk about is they buffed Skullking Colony, which now gets +1 strength on its strength gain on high ascension. Skullking Colony, I feel like, has been the most balanced of all the enemies in all of Slay the Spire 2. It went from really weak to really strong to really weak to really strong to really weak. It feels like every single week we're getting a Skullking Colony change. I do think this is a good change. I kind of feel like Skullking Colony is one of the easiest elites in the entire game. Certainly in Act 1, I would say that it's probably the easiest one. So gaining 1 extra strength on its strength gain turn is going to make it a little harder to defeat. It just means that you got to do it in even less turns now if you can. Of course, Skullking Colony has the thing that prevents you from dealing too much damage, but honestly, it's really not that scary. You just mostly have good block cards and you should be able to get through Skullking Colony. +1 strength on its strength gain turn. Scary, but probably not that bad. But the important change is an Eon Glass change. So Eon Glass no longer applies the ebb debuff. And if you don't know what that is, the ebb debuff is this little debuff right here, where it would deal you a bunch of damage and give you 3 ebb, which is the turn that you lose the strength and dexterity on. So that was really difficult if you were, facing Eon Glass and you were dealing with not being able to really attack it or not really being able to block because of the huge -3 from the strength and dexterity. That was really difficult to deal with. I do think that Eon Glass might need a little more of a debuff. It depends. I'm really looking forward to trying this this patch out in a few minutes. I'm going to be streaming around probably 9:15, 9:30. I'm going to hop on the stream a little while after this video comes out, because I think that Eon Glass is by far the hardest Act 3 boss right now. I think the main problem with Eon Glass is the Wither curses constantly getting upgraded. I think they deal a little too much damage. I do like that it's a hard fight. I do think that it's really good that it's a hard fight, especially on the higher difficulty levels. Like when you're on Ascension 10, it's really difficult to get through. Like, you specifically have to add some things into your deck to deal with the problems of Eon Glass. I think that's great, but I think people are going to continue to have a problem with it. So I think the buffs, instead of giving the Withers +3, I think eventually they're going to settle on +2 when Eon Glass upgrades them. I don't know that for sure, though. Maybe the change to the dexterity and the strength debuff is going to be enough. I'm really looking forward to testing this out. I think I don't know. Now that we're like a couple weeks into Eon Glass doing all these things, I do find that it's become easier to defeat Eon Glass. Not easy to defeat, of course. It's a very scary enemy, but I do think that like once people are used to the enemies, they find solutions for them. So I don't know if it really needs too much of a debuff, but that was my first initial thought was like, you know, lower the amount that of damage that the withers do when they get upgraded, just slightly. I don't think that it should be lowered too much. I think that just you know, a little tick out of that would be good. But maybe I'm gonna feel pretty good about just the minus strength, minus dexterity debuff just being gone, because it's difficult dealing with Eon Glass because they do so much. They gain block, they have artifacts, they upgrade their status cards, they do just like a ton. And whereas the other bosses don't necessarily do as much. And I feel like that's what they were worried about with Doormaker, was it was like too complex, too complicated. So yeah, I don't know. I personally, I like Eon Glass. Like I do think that it being so strong is good. And now it gains block on its ebb move, the single hit turn. So on that single hit turn, it'll gain block instead of its increasing intensity move. So that block gets shifted from the time that they were upgrading the withers over to the single hit time, so that it's just a little different. So I'm looking forward to the changes. And the boot got buffed as well. Damage increase now also applies to Osti's attacks. I think that's great. I think it was a little silly that it didn't work that way with Osti's attacks in the first place, that the boot didn't give it the buff. And I guess that in that situation, now it does. And maybe it was just a bug the whole time. And they also buffed Juggernaut, which is really surprising. Damage increased from 5 or 7 on the upgrade up to 6 or 8 on that upgrade. I think that's an awesome buff. I think Juggernaut has been underpowered for a while. I think it was underpowered in Slay the Spire 1. The reason I'm surprised that they did give it a buff is because they never did in Slay the Spire 1, really. And I think that's awesome that they're doing that, even though it's an old classic card that everybody is familiar with. And then Regent buffs, we got Monarch's Gaze. The energy cost decreased from 3 or 2 on the upgrade down to 2 or 1 on the upgrade. And that makes Monarch's Gaze really, really interesting. I never took that card because it was just so expensive. And I think that it's like not really worth it. So I'm very, very glad to see that. I'm definitely going to try that out. I want to see if, you know, if Monarch's Gaze is going to be worth it. I think a decrease in cost was the direction that they really needed to go with that card. And then they nerfed Reflect again. Block gain decreased from 16 to 15. I think this is fair. Reflect is like one of the most broken Regent cards, so I think that's completely fine. I don't know if they're going to continue to debuff it or to nerf it rather, because it's going to be really strong. Even at 15, it's still strong. And then we have some Necrobinder buffs. We've got Sikkim, which the summon increased from 2 to 3 or from 3 to 4 on the upgrade. I think that's good. Sikkim kind of mediocre, like honestly not a very good card, so maybe it'll be a little more tempting to grab that. They buffed the Scythe, which I am surprised at. I felt like the Scythe was a pretty good card. Damage increased from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 on the upgrade. I don't know. I don't know if that was necessary. I don't think the Scythe really needed a buff. I think it's a really good card, especially if you get it early, that you can consistently add more damage to it. So I'm a little surprised at that. I'm going to see and test it out and see if the changes are that. I mean, they're going to be significant, right? Like I already thought the Scythe was a solid card, unless you get it like at the very end of a run, I suppose. But if you get the scythe early on, it's just really nice. So increasing the damage that it's going to get it's surprising. It's just surprising. Quality of life during the Gremlin Merc fight. If Gremlin Merc didn't steal any gold, but Fat Gremlin escaped, the player now receives 50% of the normal gold reward instead of 0%. Straight up, I don't know what that means. I don't remember having a problem with the Gremlin Merc fight. I honestly really don't remember. And then there's some UI and experience stuff. The one that I really wanted to talk about was when Vaku tells you how many times you visited him, the number he says is now accurate. That's awesome, because he always said, I think 143. Now he's going to tell you exactly how many times you've seen him. I wonder, is it a collective of all the characters that he's going to tell you how many times? Or is it each character he's going to tell you how many times? I hope it's each character. I think that would be a nice touch, but we'll see. And then Pael's Flesh, the relic now visually increases the maximum energy amount shown in your energy counter. I don't think that really matters. Instead of saying 4th out of 3, it's going to say 4 out of 4. Sacrifice now previews how much block it will gain so that it's easier to plan with effects like Dexterity and Frail. I think that's really nice. But there's also a bunch of art changes. You got some defect animation that we already saw. Soul Nexus now has visual effects. There's some epic art, epoch art, whatever it's called. And then a bunch of bug fixes. I'm not going to go through all the bug fixes. You can go through them yourself. I just wanted to talk about the big changes in actual gameplay. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and come check out my stream. I'll be streaming live on Twitch, on YouTube, about an hour after this video comes out. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel.